This podcast is part of the It Was a Thing on TV podcast network.
Hey.
How you doing?
Surviving. You?
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
You ready?
No. Car's so unwritten at me.
Make it a happy one, please. I can't take any more sad ones. Stay away from the life and death of it all.
It's interesting that people use that expression, life and death. You know, as if to imply that life is the opposite of death, but birth is the opposite of death. Life has no opposite.
I never thought of it that way.
Well, leave it to me to overthink it.
You are the writer.
This writer has decided it doesn't matter how it ends. Because fiction is fiction for the first time in a long time. My life is real. It doesn't matter who ends up with who. Because in some unearthly way, it's always going to be you and me.
Soulmates.
What we have goes beyond friendship, beyond lovers. It's forever.
Yes, it is. I love you, Dawson.
I love you too, Joey.
Rest in peace to James Vanderbeek. 48 is too damn young to die. Screw cancer.
An anthology on the bad, the short-lived, and the forgotten shows and events in television history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
No, that's it. I'm not modeling anymore for the two of you. Well, I guess I just have my first taste of the filthy side of this business. Need I remind you, sirs, I am a male model, not a male prostitute.
Episode 608, submission number 024C, or maybe 024B, take two. Get a Life Revisited, take two. Get a Life aired on Fox from September 23rd of 1990 to March 8th of 1992 for a mind-blowing 35 episodes plus the pilot.
There's no open here because the opening theme is Stand by REM. We're not going to get sued. Not this week. So straight to the show. Sorry.
You heard me a few moments ago say this is 024B, take two, or 024C. We tried doing this 2 weeks ago. I went into some details about this. When we first tried this, my computer, the internet just totally died. And I got so sick of it, I went to get my Surface, which I use for work, primarily for the tablet function so I can write notes on the big screen and whatnot. But I put Zoom on there, and it didn't go over well because the audio was just absolutely horrible. My voice was cutting off seemingly like every second or two. It was unsalvageable. And I told Greg and Chico, and I said, we got to do this over at some point. And coincidentally, we had an opening in the schedule. So do a little bit of shuffling around and saying, okay, we got this open week. Let's put it in here. We're going to try this again. And darn it, we're going to try our best to recreate everything we talked about because seriously, there was some gold in that episode. And maybe now that we're trying this again, maybe there will be even more gold to show up. With that out of the way, what is Get a Life? Oh my gosh, Get a Life might be one of the absolute most underrated comedies in television history. It is bizarre. It is wacky. It is crazy. And it's a cult favorite. When we originally tried to cover this a couple of weeks ago, it was actually at about the same time that Shout Factory showed a 24/7 stream of Get a Life. It was only supposed to be for a weekend. It was supposed to be like December 6th and December 7th. But I don't know if it's due to them forgetting to pull the switch or the popularity of it or what have you, but it ran for over a month. The week we did this, like on the Tuesday before we did this episode, they killed the stream. And it's like, jeez, this would have been so beautiful. We are doing Get a Life Revisited, and then Shout takes away these episodes. Not all of them, actually. They did upload, at least as of the last time I checked a couple of days ago, they did upload the first episode, the second episode, and the second episode special. We'll get to that in a little bit. But also they uploaded the second episode without a laugh track. And actually, if you've heard the new open to the show, that's where that came from. There's no laughing in there, except for laughing from the crew and whatnot, because hilarity. But it's just a different experience hearing no laugh track. It's more authentic. It's more organic, more genuine. Definitely something you should go listen to, but we'll get to that in a little bit regarding that second episode and why it's classic. And hopefully we can get into all the stuff we talked about in that second episode. This show is about Chris Peterson. He's perpetually like a 12-year-old. I think it's the best way of saying it. He has not matured yet. He still lives at home with his parents. He lives in the attic. He works as a paper boy.
Wait, Mike, what's a paper boy?
I know that newspapers are sort of a passé thing, but back in the 80s and 90s and beforehand, up until maybe about, realistically, 10 years ago, maybe a little more recently, the newspaper, it was actually sort of like, let's say, CNN.com, but actually on paper. Not just CNN.com. You also had sports, so you had ESPN.com. You had the Wall Street Journal.com. You had your business section. You had everything there. You had your TV listings and you had coupons. That's what a newspaper was. So Chris Peterson, he actually, for a living, passed newspapers to his subscribers in this neighborhood.
But not like the video game Paperboy.
Oh, Paperboy the video game, that is a marvel. That's one of my favorites from the 80s.
I remember growing up in Arizona when Paperboy came out on the home systems. I didn't get a chance to play the original Paperboy. I played Paperboy 2 when it came out on the Super NES before I ever played Paperboy. It's like I only played Paperboy as part of one of those Williams Atari Greatest Hits sort of compilations. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, like the one for the PS2.
And recently I've been playing it on Atari 50, right in between rounds of 2600 level Pac-Man, which was the first video game I ever remember playing.
Wait, stop. Atari 50 has Paperboy?
I think it does.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, I agree with Greg. I don't think it does.
Oh, then what was I playing?
You might have been playing the Midway arcade game.
That's what it was.
Got my hopes up there.
Sorry, buddy.
It's okay. Chico just admitted that like one of the first games he played as a kid was Atari 2600's Pac-Man. I feel bad for him.
I think my Atari 2600 broke shortly after that.
By coincidence?
Can't roll it out. You know darn well I can't rule that out.
Well, I almost want to say Pac-Man for the Atari 2600 is better than my first video game, which would have been like Sticks and Rocks. I think it was for like the Odyssey -2 or something like that. It wasn't the Odyssey 1, it wasn't the Odyssey 2. It was actually so old they actually used negative numbers.
It was so old it was distributed by Fairchild.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say distributed by Laura Martella Pictures.
Cool.
Cool.
Seriously, y'all never heard of the Fairchild video cassette system?
I have.
I've been binge watching Gaming Historian for a while now.
All right. Now, Chris Peterson, he's a paper boy. So who's playing Chris Peterson? Well, obviously we all know, but Mike, just say it.
Probably one of the most underrated comedy legends in the last 40 years, Chris Elliott. He of David Letterman fame. Also Cabin Boy fame. I think we need to add that in there. Cabin Boy was his magnum opus.
Oh, one of the greatest movies of all time, Cabin Boy.
And he's been doing comedy for quite a bit of time. He did Letterman. I think he was in the first year of Letterman. I don't know if he was on initially, but he was on within like the first year, like 83, maybe 84 at the latest. But then also, he stuck with Letterman at least probably until like the late 2000s or early 2010s, because I remember seeing him on 2 different installments of a spoof, which just absolutely killed the living hell out of me. Skink the Bounty Hunter, a takeoff of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Him and Gerard Mulligan. Nothing for Gerard Mulligan, Greg.
Oh,
okay.
we all love Gerard Mulligan. Especially when he's pretending to be somebody else on Letterman.
So yes, that Chris Elliott. But there's so many more people in this universe, this wacky Get a Life universe besides Chris Peterson. We're going to start off with his parents. His mom, Gladys Peterson, is played by Eleanor Donahue. Absolute legend, but I think she's best known for Father Knows Best.
And she has a signed card in the Star Trek Rittenhouse set.
And this is one of the things that we lost because of the different issues we talked about. I found a copy of this card Greg's talking about on eBay, and the auction had maybe about half an hour left, and the bid was at about $25. I didn't bid on it, but I wanted to keep an eye on it because I was thinking about sniping it. That seemed like a pretty good price. I forgot to follow the auction, and maybe about 45 minutes later, I hit refresh, and the auction was over. And it sold for in excess of $50, maybe closer to $60. I'm not willing to pay that much for that card. Sorry, Eleanor Donahue. But also, as I have referred to earlier in the last week or so, one of the last 2 episodes, I have not spent a single penny on cards this year. I am very proud of myself. I have spent more money on slides, and I'm not even talking about just a certain slide with Cesar Romero holding oranges. This is the pride and joy of my collection, in case you don't know. This is a treasure. I mean, this should be like something that should be left to like a dear loved one with like the stipulation, this is going to be a family heirloom. Even if, Greg wants it, I'll be glad to give it to Greg, but no, this is like a piece of work. This is something that like museums should have. This is something Frank Santo Padre should have this. That's the answer. I think the world of you, Greg. I know you want this slide. I think it's got to go to Frank Santo Padre, though. So as I was saying, Eleanor Donahue plays Gladys Peterson, the mom of Chris Peterson, the father of Chris Peterson. This is great casting. Fred Peterson was played by Bob Elliott, Chris Elliott's dad. I think that's absolutely beautiful. And actually, if you think about the comedy lineage here, Chris Elliott came out of Bob Elliott's penis, and Abby Elliott came out of Chris Elliott's penis. How about that?
Well, Chico, let's not forget, Abby Elliott was on How I Met Your Mother in season 8.
Yes, Abby Elliott was the last person Ted would date. The Jeanette Peterson. Jeanette Peterson. Oh my God. Probably related to Chris Peterson. No, Jeanette Peterson, the last person Ted would date before meeting the mother.
That's right. Of course, we all know the mother was the Penguin's sister. Now, Mike, I know you probably think...
Going to say the... Wait. Oh, darn. I was hoping you were going to say the Joker's sister, because I'd be like, how is this related to Cesar Romero? And where's the oranges?
I thought you were going to say, Mike, wait, Ted dated Danny DeVito's sister on How I Met Your Mother?
Well, that's true, too. Because, Danny DeVito was the Penguin, so sure.
Oh, I just realized something. Remember, Chico, that Chris Elliott played Allison Hannigan's father on How I Met Your Mother.
That's right. So we have two Elliots, both related to each other, playing people who are of no relation to each other.
Next up, we're going to talk about the neighbors. Sharon Potter in this series is played by Robin Riker. Really, when we talk about Robin Riker, the big thing that comes to mind is Brothers. She was on 81 episodes of that. In addition to Brothers, she was in a movie that I was not aware of until maybe about a month ago, maybe a little bit less than that as we record, that was actually brought up, of all places, on Tune In With Me on MeTV. Bill, the cartoon curator, was talking about the movie Alligator with Robin Riker, and that's even how he introduced it. And as soon as I heard this, I went on my phone and messaged Greg and Chico and said, "You're not going to believe this. Bill, the cartoon curator, just made a Robin Riker mention on Tune In With Me." They didn't care, but that's fine.
Didn't believe it.
Now, hold on a second.
Wait,
Mike.
no, hold on. Wait. You wouldn't believe it. It came from me. Would I lie to you about that?
No, but I wanted to mention something else about Robin Riker. She was on the $100,000 Pyramid, both the Dick Clark version and the one hosted by Joe Davidson.
And unfortunately, she was like on the bad, I don't want to say bad versions. I know I just said bad, but it wasn't bad. But like in 87 and 88, Pyramid was sort of losing its legs. And I know she did the $25,000 Pyramid. I want to say in late 87 or even in 88 in that little area post Blackout, but before Family Feud, that little 13-week window in spring of 1988. And then she comes back for the John Davidson version in 1990 or 91. She sort of got the short end of the stick there. Maybe if she was on Pyramid a little earlier, when it sort of had its kind of groove going on. I don't know if necessarily the Pyramid ever got into a groove, but like 83 or 84, like right when Brothers started, that would have been great promotion. Playing Sharon Potter's husband, Larry, is Sam Robards. And speaking about what I talked about earlier regarding Chris Elliott came from Bob Elliott's penis and Abby Elliott came out of Chris Elliott's penis, Sam Robards came out of Jason Robards' penis. How about that? Boy, I hope you guys aren't eating when you're listening to this. What's Mike doing talking about all these penises?
Hey, we've earned the explicit rating this week.
I didn't really want to go for an explicit rating this week. Well, no, we're using clean language. It's just we're not like really hiding it. We're not calling it words that will actually give us an explicit rating. We're using biologically correct terms. That's a penis.
That's a penis.
There's nothing wrong with that. 99% of our listeners probably wake up every morning and gladly look at theirs and say, glad you didn't fall off in the middle of the night or while I was taking a shower there, big boy.
Oh, God. No, don't.
No.
Why'd you have to make a John Wayne Bobbitt reference? Why'd you have to do that?
I didn't make a John Wayne Bobbitt. I just
worse.
said, no, I didn't make a John Wayne Bobbitt reference. I was just saying, thank heavens it's there. It didn't just fall off in the middle of the night or drop off in the shower.
Oh, no, you're making it worse.
No, I'm justifying it. I'm not making it worse. You guys think I'm talking about Lorena Bobbitt coming in with a machete and, going all Ginsu knife on him? I never said a word like that.
I assure you, folks, this wasn't in the original taping.
No, that wasn't. You're absolutely right about that. But also, in addition to Get a Life, Sam Robards was on TV 101. He was Kevin Keegan. But he's done so much stuff. Not as much as his dad did in terms of popularity, but he's been on plenty of things. The Potters have a daughter. The daughter's name is Amy, and the daughter is played by Taylor Fry.
Now, Chico, do you want to mention what show she was on?
Not really, but I suppose I have to. She was on a WB show called Kirk with Candace Cameron's big brother.
Well, you know what? He might as well be a Mr. Black. But if we're talking about Mr. Blacks who had his show in 1995, the best one, obviously, was the Cosby Mysteries. And you know why? Because it had limitless possibilities, according to Homer Simpson.
I think we recognize that when in our little daily, well, not our, it's my doing. It's all my fault. In my little doing of the premieres every day and the birthdays of the day, when I put that cartoon from Frinkiac where it has Homer going after that guy saying, Cosby Mysteries, it had unlimited possibilities. So yeah, a Kirk reference. I almost want to call him the super religious Mr. Black. Well, he is. And actually, I remember this must be about, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even closer to 15 years ago. Some church, it's probably about 10 miles out from here, they actually got Kirk Cameron to come and spread the good word on a Sunday morning. It's like, oh my gosh. No, Kirk Cameron's coming to this neck of the woods and he's not coming to, sign autographs and sign tiger beats for all the women in their 40s who lusted over him 30 years ago when he was on Growing Pains with Alan Thicke, by the way.
I don't think the phone's ringing.
I thought it rang the first time we did this, but okay. Maybe somebody didn't pay the phone bill in the last couple weeks. But, okay. I tried. He didn't want to be summoned. Well.
Womp womp.
Well, such is life. Okay. Playing the Potter's son, Bobby, is Brady Bloom. And really, this is about as good as it gets for Brady Bloom in terms of longevity. He's done stuff for a while. He's done a lot of video games as the voice of Christopher Robin. So basically, he's the Christopher Robin of seemingly, it looks like any Disney video game from like the early 2000s and late 90s. So at least he had a little bit of a career there, but I'm guessing you really can't do Christopher Robin once you reach like 18. Once you hit puberty, you can't really sound like Christopher Robin when your voice drops an octave or two. But again, in terms of longevity, this is it. He's done a couple episodes here and there. Hasn't done anything in 11 years. The last thing he did was something called Apocalypse Nerds in 2015. but also he was in Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber 2. He played Billy in Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber 2.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. He's the kid who got the dead parakeet. His head got cut off.
I've never seen either movie, so I'm going to just take your word for it.
Wait, you've never seen the first Dumb and Dumber, at least?
Never, no.
Oh, my God. It's the most horrible scene ever. Because, Chico, you remember this.
I do remember this. Don't eat while watching that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's just like listening to this podcast. Don't eat while listening to this podcast because you're going to throw up all over the place when you hear about what appendage on the human body Chris Elliott came from. And yeah, that's right. Oh, God, I'm going there again. I'm going to make people barf all their food up.
Have we covered everybody in the cast yet?
For season 1. But we'll talk about the changes in season 2 after we get through a season 1's worth of episodes. And we're going to start off with the pilot, but also at the same time, the pilot takes us to the first episode because it's the same plot. It's generally the same cast minus one big difference. And what the premise of the pilot and this first episode are is Chris wakes up, he kisses Daryl Hannah, does his paper route, drags his best friend to an amusement park, and promptly gets stuck at the top of the roller coaster. They got stuck in the loop-de-loop. And hey, speaking of ways that you get sick, watching Dumb and Dumber, that one scene they talked about, and listening to a certain appendage and whatnot, you can get sick being stuck at the top of the roller coaster. They didn't, I don't believe, but it's going to be pretty ugly if they're there too much longer. So that's the premise of the first episode. I didn't even give you an episode name. It's Terror on the Hell Loop 2000. And that's actually maybe not necessarily a running gag, but you're going to hear the number 2000 in a lot of episode titles. They must have seen humor in that in some capacity. There's one big difference in the cast between the pilot and the first episode. In the pilot, we don't have Eleanor Donahue playing Gladys Peterson. We have June Lockhart playing Gladys Peterson from Lassie and Lost in Space. And unfortunately just passed away not all that long ago, within the last 6 months. But had a good life. Lived to be 100. That's the only difference in the cast between the pilot and the episode, but by no means is she the only big person in either of these episodes. In both the pilot and Terror on the Hell Loop 2000, we do have one pretty big name playing Connie Bristol, Julie Brown, not downtown Julie Brown, just say Julie Brown, who was the first champ on Few.
And just remember, Mike, Few produced 2 cast members from Strip Mall.
Who was the other one, Greg?
That bastard Charles Logan.
A.K.A. Gregory Ritson, but I just wanted to hear you say that bastard Charles Logan, because that's like the only name we're ever going to call him around here. That bastard Charles Logan.
Let's not forget, Strip Mall also produced Jonathan Mangum.
That's going to take us to episode 2. This is a doozy, folks, for a number of reasons. The prettiest week of my life. Chris decides to enter the exciting world of male modeling when he joins the Handsome Boys School of Modeling. The floor is Greg's. I'm not going to say anything till he says something.
Chris decides, he wants to go into the world of male modeling, so he goes to this photo shoot. And what happens at the photo shoot, Mike?
I think people heard it in the opening of this episode.
He's taking all these photos, and he's like, it's a fun modeling shoot. And then he's told by the photographer, take your shirt off. Like, okay, it's like how the male models, they take their shirts off. But Chris is so dumb, he thinks he's being sexually exploited by the photographer. And he's like, I just had a taste of the filthy side of this business.
The whole episode is just absolutely absurd, from how he gets into the modeling school, the requirements, and then the actual photo shoot where he takes off his shirt and he feels, again, just uncomfortable, sexually harassed like a piece of meat, and storms off after that little diatribe. Absolutely classic. But I think to make it even more classic, two people. First, playing Ted Baines, who is the president of the Handsome Boy Modeling Agency. He actually takes Chris's check for like $60 and says, "You're in school." This is a name we're going to talk about later. Brian Doyle Murray, from many things. I think the big things we would know him from. We did talk about him last year when we talked about Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell. But also, he was the boss on Christmas Vacation. He gave Clark Griswold the gift certificate for the Jelly of the Month Club. But everybody loves Brian Doyle Murray. He's done so much. One place I remember him, and I can't believe this is like 15 years old now. It's over 10, but I think it's close to 15. He was a regular on Sullivan and Son, which is like my absolute favorite TBS comedy over the last 15 to 20 years, maybe outside of like Angie Tribeca or the first couple of seasons of The Detour. So I'll admit it. Sullivan Sons is my TBS comedy wings of the 21st century. It made Dan Lauria's career. Oh no, The Wonder Years made Dan Lauria's career. I tried. And you see, you can't say that about anybody on that show because they have all had really good careers. Dan Lauria had The Wonder Years. Steve Burns, a great stand-up comedian. Roy Wood Jr., he's got Have I Got News for You? Everybody's done pretty well off that show. And you don't disagree with me, that tells me I'm right. One more name, and this is where everything sort of went sideways when we did this originally. Playing that photographer who gave Chris the eyes and made him run off, a person by the name of Sean Duke, but professionally, you would know him as Duke Moosekian. Not Duke Moosekian. No. Duke Moosekian. That's one of those nice Armenian names. And I almost said Deuce Moosekian. So, oh my gosh. I almost dropped the deuce there.
No, you were probably thinking of Deuce McAllister, the former Saints running back.
Well, I could have been thinking about Deuce McBride, the guard for the Knicks, even though the Knicks are like the Cavs' biggest rival right now.
Well, hold on a second. Speaking of dropping a deuce, do you want to tell this big story about one of your students that you told us?
I guess I have to now after you sort of mentioned this. So one of my students, he's a big wrestling fan, and actually, when Raw comes to Cleveland later on this month, I think it's actually going to be the 16th, so the Monday after this gets released, he actually showed me he's going to have pretty good seats for Raw. He is like, I want to say 7 or 8 rows away from the ring. He got some really good seats for it, and he's super excited. But anyhow, so this guy, he wants to be a wrestler, and at least for starters, he wants to actually wrestle in college. He's a wrestler. He's a defensive tackle. He's a big guy. He's actually, believe it or not, he's heavier than me, and he's actually mad at me that I weigh less than him. Because he's like, oh, you look like you weigh about 330 pounds, 320 pounds. And just this week, I had a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I kept the number in mind, and I'm like, okay, this is going to make this kid really mad. So, because I knew his weight, because a couple of weeks ago, somebody came by and said, we need to know your height and weight for your graduation gown and your cap and all that. And he said, I'm 6 foot tall and 280 pounds. And I made a comment, I only weigh like 277. I'm actually lighter than you. No, you're not. You're like 330, 320. He's like, no, I'm 277. I went to the doctor on Monday. I'm at 273, and you damn better believe on Tuesday, first thing I did when I saw him, I went to the doctor, and guess what? I'm down to 273. Kiss my ass.
Kiss my ass!
But anyhow, the story about this kid, and this happened, probably sometime in December. I think it actually coincided like the day after Quinshot Judkins and Shadur Sanders came to my school because they were doing some sort of charity coat drive through Quinshot Judkins Charities. All the football players wanted to see the two of them, Shadur Sanders and Quinshot Judkins. But that night, they were actually being celebrated by the city of Cleveland and the mayor of Cleveland
For winning the state football championship.
So they missed seeing Quinshot Judkins and Shadur by about an hour. And the very next day, I've got like my selfie of me with Shadur Sanders, and I've got a card signed by Quinshot Judkins, and that made everybody mad, especially this one kid. And he said,
You got that selfie with Shadur Sanders.
but I got something even better. I've been to Myles Garrett's house. I was like, okay, I can believe that because, again, state champion, and actually not just state champion this year, but they won 2 years ago and 3 years ago. So this kid actually has won 3 state titles in 4 years, which is absolutely mind-blowingly amazing. But he talks about going to Myles Garrett's house, and he says, I got another claim to fame about, knowing Myles Garrett. I took a crap in his toilet. It's like, really? That's like the big thing that, if you go on Jeopardy and interview you, they're like, oh, okay, this is blankety blank from Cleveland, Ohio, and he does this for a living. You tell us that you took a shit in Myles Garrett's toilet. How would it feel to take a deuce in Myles Garrett's toilet? It's like, really? That's like what you're going to talk about? He's not going to be on Jeopardy, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, that's like your big claim to fame.
Well, hold on. Maybe if he's on Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah, I could see Ken Jennings talking to him as a wrestler. Oh, I see that when you were a teenager, you went to Myles Garrett's house and you had to use his bathroom. Is that really something you want to see on Celebrity Jeopardy? And I hear you two saying yes. No, you don't want to say that. So yeah, there's another deuce connection there. Oh, and also another deuce to drop. This is the second episode, so there's another deuce. Good heavens. It's all your fault, Duke Moosekian. Anyhow, moving on to episode 3. Episode 3 is titled Daticus. Chris convinces his father to accompany him to the father-son competition at the annual Paperboy picnic.
Is there an obstacle course after the picnic?
Well, I'm wondering if there's going to be like a 3-legged race. There's got to be a 3-legged race or a potato sack race at this picnic.
I'm referring to Paperboy when after you got finished, you do an obstacle course.
And then after they finish the obstacle course, they'll get their picture taken and he'll be like the Paperboy of the day. He'll have this dopey look on his face. 8-bit, of course. We do have a name as a director in this episode. Tony Dow from Leave It to Beaver. But not on the week of Match Game Hollywood Squares where Leave It to Beaver was on.
No.
Yeah, they couldn't get him for some reason.
No, they had to have Gallagher on
it. They had to have Gallagher. Is that legitimately what it was? They couldn't get Tony Dow, so they called Gallagher and said, hey, come on in because we have this seat we need to replace and you're on our Rolodex of people who can get down here in half an hour?
Oh my God, we never even thought of that. But yes, that's probably what happened.
It makes perfect sense, yeah. But beyond Leave It to Beaver, and also being a director here, this morning, I'm watching Adam 12 getting ready for work, and who plays a new officer in the precinct? Tony Dow. This is on like a 1970 episode, season 3, so 70-71. So Tony Dow is just everywhere. Little Wally Cleaver grew up to be a police officer. Good on him. But not the only name we have in this episode. We actually have 2 other pretty darn good names. First, playing Dr. Kramer, who's an occasional character. He's on like 4 or 5 episodes in this series, but it's a name that we've talked about plenty of times. We're talking about Earl Bowen. And where can we start with Earl Bowen? He's been on so much stuff. He's in the Hall of Fame, our little Hall of Fame, because he's been on so many things. Earl Bowen was on 3 episodes of Golden Girls near the end of its run, last couple of seasons. But one place that I remember him from, he played a doctor in the final season of Soap. I think he was like the doctor who tried converting Jody Dallas when Jody sort of went straight that final season. He was attracted to women, and he dated a lot of women. And also remember, at some point, Jody Dallas did father a kid before that final season. The other name in this episode, playing a character named Fletcher, is James Hampton. You'd know him because he did a number of game shows back in the 70s. I know he was on Celebrity Sweepstakes, did a couple of other shows. But where you might know him best from, he was Leroy B. Simpson on the Doris Day Show, 30 episodes between 1968 and 1971.
Now, hold on. In the original tape, you mentioned that he was on F Troop, right?
Yes, he played Hannibal Dobbs on F Troop. And actually, that reminds me, I was watching some channel, one of the Western channels, a number of weeks ago, and they show F Troop. It's like, okay, this is weird. F Troop on a network dedicated to Westerns. I mean, it makes sense, but Westerns are drama. They're not comedy. So I was watching this probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was the season 2 premiere episode of F Troop, and it was titled The Singing Mountie. Now, I usually wouldn't watch F Troop, but something drew me to this episode, and I know exactly what it is. It was The Singing Mountie, played by Paul Lynde. Absolutely frigging hilarious. I was a singing Mountie. Something like that. Among other shows that he was on in terms of game shows, he was on an episode of Now You See It in 1989. I'm guessing maybe like Soap Week or something like that. He did Password. He did The Crossroads. He did Liars Club. I know I've seen pictures of him on the Liars Club. So he definitely got around doing game shows in the 70s and even as late as 89, apparently. That will take us to episode 4, the title of which is A Family Affair. When Sharon's sister visits, surprisingly, she finds Chris to be charming. She did. We have a name in the cast, but also we have a director of note. The name, playing Ted, no last name, played by Larry Cedar. You would know him best from Square One TV back almost 40 years ago at this point. He was like one of the big cast members on Square One TV.
Also, who directed this episode, Mike?
That's what I was going to get to next. Directing this episode is Dobie Gillis himself, Dwayne Hickman. Oh, I'm sorry. I should also include that Dwayne Hickman, he co-starred with Cesar Romero in the 1969 movie that didn't air until 1977 on NBC titled Don't Push, I'll Charge When I'm Ready. And Cesar Romero is holding his little orange like, haha, look, I've got oranges. I think that's just, again, the perfect picture. Cesar Romero holding those oranges. That's priceless. That should be in a museum. But Dwayne Hickman was in that movie that, for whatever reason, sat on a dusty shelf for 8 years until NBC's like, yeah, let's run it. Let's try to get something out of this. And they aired it as the late movie on a Sunday night back in 77, 8 years after it was filmed. Now take us to episode 5, which is titled Pile of Death. Oh my god, this one's a goofy one. Again, this sort of is the first time this episode we're going to use the word absurd. absurd is a great descriptor for a lot of stuff that goes on in this series. The absurdity begins here. To save his childhood park, Chris raises money by trying to break the world record for having things piled on him. We're just talking junk. We're talking stuff. Not talking trash per se. But he wants to get money for saving his childhood park by getting the most stuff put on him. Absolutely crazy.
And who randomly shows up, Mike?
I was just going to get to that. Just randomly walking by. Don't even have any context as to why he's just walking by, if he's just strolling in the neighborhood. But making an appearance and actually contributing to this dumping on Chris, literally, if you will. Jack Jones. Yes, the Jack Jones who sang the Love Boat theme. Just an absolutely random cameo. I love it. Earl Bowen also appears in this episode as Dr. Kramer once again. I like a random Jack Jones reference. That's great. Episode 6 is titled Paperboy 2000. There's that 2000 again.
Sounds like something that'd be on the N64 or PS1.
Now wait, I just saw a couple of days ago there was a Paperboy for the N64.
Yeah, Paperboy 64.
So this would be on the GameCube, Paperboy 2000. And think about it, when did the GameCube come out? Right about 2000. So it's perfect.
Actually, it came out in 2001, but still same time for it.
What I want to know is, how is Paperboy 2000, the video game, better than Paperboy 64? And how is Paperboy 64 better than Paperboy 2? What are they actually doing to expand that plot line of throwing newspapers at houses?
I want to know what happened between Paperboys 3 and 63. That's what I want to know.
Well, I want to know what happens to Paperboy 65 in 1999. There's like 1,930 versions of Paperboy we're missing there.
I'm looking at graphics from Paperboy 64. I don't think you want to know what happens between that time.
Okay, you've said it, so now you got to tell us.
Okay, so it kind of sort of looks like The Simpsons Hit and Run if it was halfway done.
Oh, you just like made me sad when you said, but it's halfway done. Oh,
you asked for... Don't ask the questions if you don't want the answers.
No, I understand that, but you got my hopes up when you said Simpsons Hit and Run. It's like, this is going to be good. And then you say, well, if it's a half-baked version of it, it's like, I know you're the messenger, but that sort of puts a... oh, shit.
You got to keep that in.
Yeah, it's got to stay in. I don't know where the hell that came from. But again, that's sort of like a downer. It's like, you say Simpsons Hit and Run. It's like, oh, this is going to be great. It's a half-baked version of it. It's like, I get, you're the messenger, but that was a downer right there.
That came from the colon, by the way.
No, trust me, that didn't come from the colon. That was all my stomach. I don't know where the heck it came from, though. We do have Dr. Kramer, played by Earl Bowen, appearing on this episode, too. And since that's 3 times we've seen him, that means we're only probably going to see him once or twice more, sadly or otherwise. Episode 7 is titled Driver's License. Chris asks a waitress out, but first he needs to get a driver's license. Well, it makes sense. He's a paper boy. He rides a bike. Everything you see on this show, he's riding a bike as he delivers papers. He's not used to driving. Probably doesn't even have a vehicle at his expense. At least if I was his parents, I wouldn't let him drive a vehicle. And we don't have anybody of note there, so episode 8 is titled The Sitting. The home in which Chris is house sitting seems to be haunted.
Haunted? Do they play ghost poker at the haunted house? Now, Mike, I know you're wondering what the hell is ghost poker.
After yesterday, when you shared information about a game coming up in the near future called like Poker at the Warehouse or something like that, and there's friggin' Strong Bad in it. I thought, you're going to go down that road.
Oh, Poker Night, the inventory? No. Now,
Inventory. Warehouse inventory, same thing.
Same thing, but I got to say this, okay? Hey, you got to talk to Dean about Ghost Poker. He'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about Ghost Poker.
Okay, I think what we need to do is we need to do a crossover episode. We need the Squared Circle Time Machine universe to merge with the It Was a Thing universe, and we need to hash this out. Plus also, I'm sure that Dane wants me to come on and somehow conjure up a certain ghost of a certain wrestler that passed away last year. Possibly.
Well, I think he's already shown up on our podcast if you were listening.
Well, but I think it might be even more authentic if he was actually there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, yeah, well.
A little bit of authenticity.
I wonder how many stars Dave Meltzer gave that match at the Playpen ring he had with Nanny.
Only 2. It didn't take place at the Tokyo Dome.
Hold on a second. Maybe Nanny's Playpen was made to look like the Tokyo Dome. So I think you're wrong there. I think it got 8 stars for that reason. You don't know that. Nobody of note in this episode, but I do want to mention one credit. Actually, the character is the reason I want to mention this. There is a dog in this episode called Louie the Demon Dog. Louie the Demon Dog is played by a dog named Lulu.
Aww.
Aww.
I'm sorry, a demon dog should not have the name Lulu. Now with that, we're going to go on to episode 9, which is titled Bored Straight. This one's another goofy one. Chris takes a group of young punks under his wing to make them better citizens. Chris is out doing something, not delivering papers. He's in town. And he gets confronted by a bunch of, well, we'll just say what Fred Gwynn would say, Utes. And they're not good Utes. So Chris feels it's his obligation to turn these kids around, and instead of Scared Straight, which is where the title of this episode sort of is a pun of, it's called Bored Straight. They clearly don't want to be on the straight and narrow. They don't want to be changed citizens, but darn it, Chris Elliott is going to do whatever he can to make these kids not be such jerks. And sadly, none of these punks are anybody of note. So we're going to move on to episode 10. Another absurd episode. Zoo Animals on Wheels. Chris auditions and gets the lead in a musical based on animals that wear roller skates, much to the chagrin of his nemesis Sharon. Imagine Cats if it was mixed with Starlight Express. That's the best way of describing this. Now I'm getting in my mind like Peter Griffin when he did Starlight Express, just skating around. Starlight Express, Starlight Express, Starlight Express, Starlight Express, Starlight Express. Something like that. We don't have anybody noteworthy in that episode, so we'll just hop over to episode 11, titled Roots. Not that one, I hope. Well, it is kind of, sort of. Chris finds evidence that he was adopted and goes in search of his birth parents. This is another episode that Dwayne Hickman directed. Yes, Dwayne Hickman of the 1977 movie, well, actually 1969 movie that didn't air until 1977 called Don't Push, I'll Charge When I'm Ready, starring Cesar Romero, holding an orange, or 2, for some reason. Because usually he's not holding oranges, he's getting them thrown at his ass. That's true. Episode 12 is titled The Counterfeit Watch Story. Chris buys a counterfeit watch from a disreputable vendor who won't refund his purchase price. And actually, he goes to work for the police in a sting operation after buying this counterfeit watch. Oh, by the way, which is called the Chronosync 2000. Again, there's that number 2000 rearing its ugly head.
But who sells him the watch, Mike?
Oh, I'm getting to that right now because that's the best part. the person who sells him the watch, Duke Moosekian.
Playing a completely different character.
Duke Moosekian may be the MVP of the series in terms of guest stars. He played the photographer in the Handsome Boy modeling episode, and now he plays the guy who sells Chris this counterfeit watch.
Who's also in this episode, Mike?
I don't know. Who else is in this episode?
I thought it was. Honestly. Oh, never mind. That's episode 21. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. Episode 13 is titled Chris vs. Donald. At the family reunion, Chris is still struggling to get out from under the shadow of his cousin Donald. We do have Dwayne Hickman from that Cesar Romero movie in 1977 once again directing. But we do have two names in this episode. The cousin Donald himself is played by Jackie Earl Haley. Where you might know him from, well, we're going to talk about him in a little bit under a month because he supplied the voice to Jamie Boyle on the series Wait Till Your Father Gets Home.
But also he was Kelly Lake in The Bad News Bears. The movie The Bad News Bears, not the show.
Well, that too, but he was also Jamie Boyle on Wait Till Your Father Gets Home.
No, I think The Bad News Bears is bigger, Mike. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait. Hold on a sec. I just realized something. Chico.
Yes.
Do you know who played Kelly Lake's father in The Bad News Bears and Breaking Training? Now, this, I didn't mention this in the original episode, but I just realized it now. Do you know who played Kelly Lake's father in The Bad News Bears and Breaking Training?
William Devane.
Yes!
Yes!
Oh, gosh, no, not Bill Devane!
That
No!
cuck Greg Sumner.
Hey, he's the one who chanted let them play when they were going to get the Bears off the field because the Astros had to play. And Bob Watson and the rest of the Astros were like, what the fuck is this shit? They need to play.
I was not actually expecting a Bill Devane reference in this episode.
You weren't expecting a Bob Watson reference either.
I almost want to ask who's Bob Watson, but I don't want to go there.
You don't know Bob Watson? He was the GM of the 1996 Yankees when they won the World Series.
Oh, yeah, because I'm a big Yankees fan.
I knew that.
Well,
My ass, you knew that, Chico.
No, he probably did know that because he's a Yankees fan because they don't have any pro sports down there in terms of major league teams.
Carolina Hurricanes, bitch!
I was going to say, I'm not even counting the Charlotte Hornets because they're barely a team in and of itself.
They're on a hot streak. Don't you know that?
Hey, just remember, they're a bunch of jerks.
Damn right we are.
They're overrated. Come fight me. Kai Kanoopel sucks. Well, no, he's okay, but he's overrated. My opinion.
Hey.
That's the only one that matters is my opinion.
My opinion's the only one that counts.
Hey, he's no Cooper Flag, but whatever.
Oh, Cooper Flag has been super hot as of late. I maybe made a bad prediction when I said, oh, he's going to be a 15-point-a-game scorer. I think he's averaging like 21 points a game now. He's had really good games the last couple weeks. He had a 49-point game maybe about a week or so ago, and I think just last night he had like 34. The kid's going to be good. Too bad they got absolute crap with him in Dallas. They did get rid of Anthony Davis, though, so there's a little less crap in Dallas. Maybe it should be in Davis. Maybe it's Antonio Dallas and whatever. Maybe it's Duke Moosekian or Deuce Moosekian. I don't forget it. Okay, one more name. Playing Aunt Tilly in this episode is B.B. Osterwald. Just a name of yore that I remember from a lot of old movies. Wasn't really in any TV show for an extended period of time. But B.B. Osterwald goes back to 1948. Captain Billy's Mississippi Music Hall. And I gotta have a little southern twang in my voice when I say that. Captain Billy's Mississippi Music Hall. I hope I didn't offend anybody in Mississippi. Especially my family that lives down there. Mike, what you doing talking like that about Mississippi? You know we don't talk like that down in Mississippi.
Mike, why are you talking like the lady in the Chicken Tetrazzini episode of Maury?
Chicken Tetrazzini!
One day we need to do a mini-sode or a special episode about the Chicken Tetrazzini episode. And we got to have Jason, we got to have the memories. Like, what do you remember about the Chicken Tetrazzini episode?
Chico, you got a job to do. We got to get that mini episode lined up. Well, I'd say not in the near future, but that's something we definitely have to put on the slate for some time when we need filler. Also, Bibi Osterwald, she played Sophie Steinberg on Bridget Loves Bernie. She was Bernie's mother. And she passed away in 2002. January 2nd of 2002, actually. That's going to take us to episode 14. Here's another one that's just absolutely goofy. Chris wins a celebrity. Chris wins a weekend with his favorite talk show host, a contest the host first regrets that he agreed to, but later when the host decides to stay, Chris regrets he entered the contest. I cannot think of a single talk show host or celebrity that would want to spend time with Chris Elliott to the point where he actually doesn't want to leave Chris's house, but we found one. Playing Sandy Connors, Martin Mull. The same Martin Mull who was a big Browns fan to the point where he actually had in the 1991 Pro Line trading card set, he had his own card, but also he signed a couple of cards. Because that was the big thing with the Pro Line set back in the 90s, was each box had an autograph. So if you bought a good box, you could have gotten a Martin Mull autograph. I bought one on eBay after he passed away, but I had one even better. In 1993, I used to work at Cleveland Municipal Stadium for the occasional Indians game and the occasional Browns game because didn't really make a whole heck of a lot of money there. After one game, I'm getting ready to leave, and somebody next to me sees Martin Mull walk by and says, "Hey, Martin Mull, can I shake your hand?" And, I'm a big fan of yours, all that type of stuff. And while he's doing this and gets the picture or the handshake and whatnot, whatever he did in 1993, I had that unsigned trading card with me. And I'm like, "Oh, Mr. Mull, since you're over here, can you sign this card for me?" And he signed it, and I still have it in my collection. That's like the sole good memory I have of doing hot dog vending at Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Not much to get excited about regarding the Indians in 1993. And the Browns, they were so-so, but I remember that this game was a loss. This may have even been the Miami game where Dan Marino broke his ankle. It's possible. But regardless, I met Martin Mull. Yay. Moving on to episode 15. It's titled Houseboy 2000. After destroying her kitchen, Chris becomes Sharon's, I'm going to use this word lightly. There's a little outdated term, but such is life. Chris becomes Sharon's slave to work off the $2,000 in damage, and she brainwashes him to break his will. And she really does that. She overworks Chris to the point where she's going to break him. Nobody of note in that episode, so we are going to hop over to episode 16, which is titled Married. During one day, Chris meets his soulmate, marries her, and goes through an entire relationship with her. Who does Chris think he is? Jason Alexander? The one married to Britney Spears? Well, they were only married for 48 hours? So, actually, they spent twice as long as Chris did being married. We do have a name playing the Justice of the Peace. Who could they have gotten as a name to marry Chris to this woman? Louis Arquette. We talked about him plenty. In addition to what we talked about him being on in the past, well, out of his penis came a whole bunch of Arquettes. Rosanna and David And other Arquettes that I can't think of because my mind is just absolutely blown. How about Alexis Arquette? How about
Roxanne Arquette.
Roxanne? Well, I said Roxanne Arquette, didn't I?
I thought you said Rosanna. Rosanna.
Okay. And Patricia Arquette. Just all the Arquettes. And of course, Louis Arquette came out of Charlie Weaver's penis. Cliff Arquette. I don't know why I'm saying all this, but again, you're welcome, people. Also, it should be noted that Louis Arquette voiced Superfly Jimmy Snuka on Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, brother. Well, it was called Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. The brother wasn't part of the title. That was a Hulkster reaction there. Brother. Going on to episode 17, it's titled Camping 2000. Chris and Larry join Mr. Peterson on a camping trip. When he manages to lose them, the hungry boys eat some berries that cause them to hallucinate and become paranoid. Just what we need. Chris Elliott becoming paranoid on wacky berries. Hilarity ensues. And hilarity probably ensues in episode 18, which is the construction worker show. Chris hangs out with the construction workers who are working on his parents' house. It's almost like that childlike curiosity when you see somebody working on something in the house or working on something outside the house, the lawn, and you sort of just gaze there. Oh, I want to do that job one day. That's what Chris is doing as a 30-year-old, watching these people doing work in Chris's parents' house. And we do have a name among one of the construction workers. Somebody that we talked about extensively in the past, playing Ray, is Mickey Jones. If you saw the face, you would definitely recognize who he is. He's been in so much stuff over the years. He hasn't been with us for, actually, as of the time we're recording, it'll be 8 years tomorrow. February 7th of 2018 is when he passed. Among the things that I know he was in, he played Gunther the Gun Dealer in Gun Fever 2, Still Hot, on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But also, we talked about him in the pilot to Misfits of Science. We also talked about him on an episode of Ace Crawford Private Eye, but also where I recognize him from, he was on the second half of a two-part episode from season 10 of Married with Children, where he played Parley Wayne Rockefeller, who was an auto mechanic in the middle of nowhere when Bud and his friends were going to spring break. You can't miss this guy because he has this very prominent beard. And also, he's a very burly guy. Again, if you saw him, you'd know who he is. He's been on plenty of TV shows from probably the 80s, if not even the 70s, up until the 2010s, a couple of years before he passed. Episode 19 is titled The Big City. Chris's wallet is stolen in the big city, and the big city gives him the key to the city and other perks to make him feel better. They go all out. Not just giving him the key to the city, he gets a ticker tape parade. It's the usual absurdity you'd expect from this TV show. And Chris actually gets a moniker due to all this. He becomes known as Wallet Boy. That sounds like something that David Letterman would call him. Hey, Wallet Boy. Episode 20 is titled Neptune 2000. This is another really weird, absurd episode, but it's hilarious. Chris receives the submarine kit Neptune 2000 20 years after ordering it. After putting it together with his father's help, they embark on the sub's maiden voyage inside Chris's bathtub. So you think you're getting this little submarine kit, sort of like something you'd find in like a hobby shop. No, this is actually a full-size submarine. Two people can actually ride in, and they get stuck in it in Chris's bathtub / shower And Robin Riker's character actually is the person who saves them because she happens to go to the bathroom. They're hitting on the windows, but like the windows are too thick. They can't get her attention. She turns, sees them, and releases the water, which floods the kitchen down below on the first floor. Just again, another totally ridiculous, absurd episode. One of my favorites of the series. Episode 21 is titled Chris and Larry Switched Lives. Chris and Larry ignore an Indian curse and wind up switching lives, and Chris realizes how pathetic and submissive Larry's life really is.
Oh, so this is like Turnabout. So where's Sharon Gless with the cigar? Hey, it's me, Sharon Gless. Yeah, I'm smoking a cigar. I'm a real man.
Happy 86th birthday, John Shuck. Aw, Shuck. That's all I got. I can't do like a John Shuck voice when he sounds like a female. Ooh, I'm going to do my hair and nails, and I'm going to go do a secretarial job. I'm going to be some sort of outdated stereotype of a female back in the late 70s.
Now I want you to do that voice and say Starfleet regulations. That's outrageous.
Oh, Starfleet regulations. That's outrageous. Like that?
Yeah.
This is stupid shit I do on this show.
All right, who else is in this episode? Like,
in this episode, playing Jackie is Beth Broderick. She played Zelda on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
the one who's not Caroline Ray.
And the one who's not Salem. Oh, that's the cat. Never mind.
That's Nick Bakay.
But that's the cat, though. She's not playing the cat.
Well, just remember, of course, Nick Bakay was the voice of that Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets special with the stunt granny. How's that for pile driving Miss Daisy?
Ah! Pile driving Miss Daisy! Oh my gosh. You should be ashamed of yourself, but at the same time, you shouldn't. That was pretty good. One more name in this episode as a writer, not a performer. Ed Hall, the announcer from The Tonight Show with Mr. Black, and also he was the announcer on Merv Griffin's Crosswords. We are now at the final episode of Season 1, and it is titled Psychic 2000. After a near-death experience from choking on cereal, Chris gains psychic abilities. He then tries to prevent one of the predictions when he sees a vision of someone trying to murder Sharon. I don't know if this person's trying to murder Sharon, but we got Larry Cedar on this episode once again, playing Ted. But also, we do have one other character, not really well known. You'll know him from one role after I go through his CV. Playing Abe Lincoln in this episode. Maybe Abe Lincoln is the one who's trying to kill Sharon, sort of his turnabout, because we all know what happened to Abe Lincoln. I don't know. I haven't seen this episode in a while, but, you know, there's another very plausible possibility there. But playing Abe Lincoln is Robert V. Barron. You may not know the name, but you definitely know what he did. He was Abraham Lincoln in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
This is like another freaking case of the guy who played Elvis on The Last Precinct, where he's stereotyped in this one role.
Or it could be like Dick Wilson, who keeps on getting stereotyped as a drunk, even though he's best known for being Mr. Whipple. Who knows? But not only did he play Abraham Lincoln in this episode, and also in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, he was also Abraham Lincoln in an episode of Out of This World. I didn't know that Out of This World needed Abraham Lincoln for some reason. Oh, by the way, did you know that my Little League coach back in like 1983, 84, he was on Out of This World?
You mention that all the freaking time, Mike.
Well, that's why I said it, because, you know, Chico's got his little thing about, I went to school with John Delancey's son. My claim to fame is I played Little League in 83, 84 as an 8 or 9-year-old, sometime around then. And one of the coaches was Steve Burton from General Hospital and Out of This World. I don't have much to like hang my hat on. It's either go to Steve Burton being my Little League coach, or it's go to Joe Hesterhaus, sit next to me at Hardball back in 2002. You got two anecdotes. You got to pick one of them. With that out of the way, we are done with season 1. We have some changes coming down the road. We're going to see less and less of Chris's parents. We're going to see them every now and then, but they're not going to be focal because Chris is moving out. And he's moving into a house that he's going to share with a gentleman named Gus. Gus Borden, actually. Played by the aforementioned Brian Doyle Murray. So now we don't just get to see him as the Handsome Boy Modeling Agency president and owner and proprietor and whatnot. Now he's Chris's roommate. But also we're going to see a little bit less of the Potters. We'll still see them every now and then, specifically Robin Riker. We're not going to see the kids. We're not going to see Sam Robards. At least we're not going to see them that much. So you're going to see that this changes a little bit. And the first episode in season 2 is Chris moves out. When Chris hits 31, he believes it's time for him to grow up and move out. So he moves in with retired cop Gus, but soon has doubts about his new home. Episode 2 is titled Larry on the Loose. After listening to Chris remind him of what a living hell his life truly is, Larry runs away, so Chris is in search of him and thinks he has found him, but it's actually just a hobo who speaks no English. Bob Odenkirk wrote this episode, in addition to quite a few other ones in this second season. We're talking about Better Call Saul, among other things. But I think everybody knows Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul. And if you don't know him from that, you know him from Mr. Show. We loved Mr. Show back 28 years ago when I worked at an internet provider. We used to watch that actually when we had downtime.
Made Jack Black's career. Although, wait, the Pitfall 2600 commercial made his career. What am I talking about?
He's right, though. So we do have Sam Robards reappearing as Larry Potter. Again, one of his last episodes, if not his last. And we do have, as a businessman, we have David Merkin, who actually is the director of this episode, but also his production company produced this series, at least in conjunction with Chris Elliott. So you got somebody from behind the scenes coming in front of the camera. Episode 3 is titled Meat Locker 2000. More absurdity coming. Sharon makes Chris pretend to be her boyfriend to impress her snooty friends, but things go awry when the two of them get locked in her walk-in meat freezer. Just off her living room, she's got a walk-in meat freezer. They get locked in there, and they need to stay warm. They still despise each other, but they stay warm by, well, imagine how two people could stay warm. Two people, even if they don't like each other and they're pretending to be boyfriend-girlfriend, how might they stay warm? And they actually get discovered when Gus actually goes into the meat freezer and figures that nobody's in the house. So he thought he'd plunder the meat locker. He went like all supermarket sweep in there, grabbing like brisket and sides of beef. And I don't know if necessarily you can carry a side of beef, but he basically did like a Farmer John turkey thing on supermarket sweep. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. He got all 5 of them. And that's how he saved their lives. Episode 4 in season 2 is titled Health Inspector 2000. Chris gets a job as a health inspector after finding a dead rat in his milk carton. And actually, Chris gets in trouble. He loses his job because he's taken bribes. Specifically, he gets bribed $5. And he thinks he's the king of the world. He goes to a car dealership and says, I want to get a car. And he pulls out this briefcase, and the car salesmen are like, yeah, we're going to be making a good commission today. He opens up that briefcase, and there's a single $5 bill in there, and they show him the way out. Well, he's a paperboy. $5 to a paperboy is like, what, $20 to a normal person, I would say. Hey, when I was a little kid, if I got $5, I was king of the world. Episode 5 of season 2 is called Chris Gets His Tonsils Out. After having minor surgery, Chris acts like he's dying. Well, yeah, he's getting his tonsils removed. He's going to die. He's totally not going to die. In this episode, we have Earl Bowen once again playing Dr. Kramer. So I'm guessing Dr. Kramer may be a doctor of all sorts of trades, because here he's removing tonsils, and in previous episodes, he was some other type of doctor. He didn't remove Chris Elliott's tonsils 4 times previously. So I'm guessing he's just that doctor. If we need a doctor character, we're calling Earl Bowen. Episode number 6 in season 2 is titled Prisoner of Love. Chris's prison pen pal comes to stay with him, sets up a criminal enterprise at his place, and ends up holding him hostage. I've seen this done a couple times in the past. This is actually basically the plot to like the second to last episode of Married with Children. Bud has a pen pal who's in prison. She gets out, and then she holds the family hostage, and ultimately her brother and Kelly Bundy get married in the series finale. Just something absurd. Hey, there's that word again, absurd. We do have a name, though, playing that prisoner. Her name is Irma, and she's played by Nora Dunn. You know her from SNL primarily. Episode 7, another absolutely goofy one. Chris becomes a male escort. Chris decides to become a male escort to meet women, but winds up with a much older woman. He ends up with an older woman named Margaret Gardner, played by Dana Dietrich. Mother Nature in the chiffon commercials back in the 70s and 80s. You don't mess with Mother Nature. It throws the lightning bolt or whatever. But also Dana Dietrich, we've talked about her numerous places besides as the chiffon margarine Mother Nature. She played one of Helen Roper's sisters on a couple of episodes of The Ropers. But also, I just saw this probably in the last week or two. She was on 2 episodes of The Golden Girls. She played Gloria Petrillo. She played Sophia's sister. Playing her husband, Henry Gardner, a name we've talked about quite a bit, Ralph Manza. I remember the name, again, going back to what I watch just about every morning when I'm getting ready for work. He appeared on a number of episodes of Adam 12. He also appeared on 5 episodes of Get Smart. He's one of those people, when you see him, you'll be like, I know him. Maybe I don't know him from something specific, but I've seen the face. You'll know who he is. He's been on, I don't want to say everything, but seemingly he's been on like everything up until his passing in 2000. He was even on an episode of Boy Meets World in 2000 before he passed away. One more name in this episode, playing Mark, who's another male escort, is Paul Feig. You'd know him as the man who was behind the Ghostbusters movie about 10 years ago, the one with Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon. But also he produced Freaks and Geeks, one of the absolute best one-season series in television history. But also beyond that, he was actually a contestant on the $25,000 Pyramid in the mid-'80s, 85, 86, and he actually did pretty good. I know he was on at least 2 days, I think maybe even 3 days. Not bad. I should also add that this episode, again, it's just absolutely goofy, but the ending to this episode is a takeoff of Benny Hill. At the end of the episode, Chris is running around the neighborhood, Benny Hill style. He's got an old woman chasing him because this old woman heard that he's still doing escort stuff. And Chris vowed he was not going to do any more escorting for people over the age of 60. Once he saw this woman, this old woman, he busted through the back door. Well, not even through the back door. He busted through the wall. And he started doing the Benny Hill running around, trying to avoid the lady. And then, sort of like in Benny Hill fashion, a cop gets involved. And then, to really make it Benny Hill fashion, he rips off the dress of a woman, and she's wearing a bikini underneath, and she starts in the chase. It's just usual Benny Hill goofiness with Chris Elliott. Episode 8 is titled Girlfriend 2000. Chris falls in love with a woman who hit him with her car and starts stalking her. The girlfriend in this episode, man, this is a pretty good girlfriend to have, Chris. You definitely punched up here. Emma Samms. We're talking about the same Emma Samms from General Hospital and Dynasty and the Colbys. Y'all know who Emma Samms is. She was on the first week of the John Davidson Hollywood Squares.
Yes.
She definitely was. Another name in this episode, playing Evelyn, is Amy Yazbek.
Okay, now I have to mention it. She was on Wings, my favorite show because it made Tony Shalhoub's career. But hold on a second. I need to mention a story from Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast, where she was on, and she told a story about how her and John Ritter were on the Cosby Show. And if I remember correctly, like, John was kind of nervous or something before he was going to be on the episode.
I think they both had a little bit of trepidation, yeah.
And, like, Bill Cosby gave John Ritter something and it made him sick or something. Right? Wasn't that how it went?
Well, I was going to say, wasn't it a drink, I think?
A drink, yeah. And it made him sick. And as a joke, they both called him the poisoner.
Little did they know. And yes, I know we didn't put Mr. Black in there, but y'all know who he is.
Yeah, he had that show that had limitless possibilities in 1985, The Cosby Mysteries.
Yeah, him. Amy Yazbek's done much more than that, but obviously Greg would know her for Wings. Moving on to episode 9, which is titled Chris's Brain Starts Working. Finally, Chris becomes intelligent after exposure to toxic waste, so Gus enters him in spelling bees across the world. I really didn't know there was a spelling bee sort of tour out there. Spelling bees around the world. Okay. We do have a name. Playing Max in this episode is Mitch Pileggi. He was Walter Skinner on The X-Files. 91 episodes. Only a few more episodes ago. Episode 10 is titled Bad Fish. What did Abe Vigoda do this time? Oh, wrong type of fish. Gus and Sharon get amnesia after eating rancid shellfish, and Chris convinces them that the three of them are best friends. So now he's doing the brainwashing. It was originally Sharon who did when the fire happened in her kitchen. Now the roles are reversed. It's Chris doing the brainwashing because of some bad fish. Nobody in this episode of note, so we're going to move on to maybe one of the most popular, if not the most popular episode in this series, Spewy and Me. When an alien creature crashes in Gus's front yard, Chris tries to keep it from the government, but this alien is nothing like E.T. or Alf. Its sole superpower is the ability to spew and spray bodily fluids everywhere. And if I remember, the bodily fluids, I think, were edible. They're actually like very delicious. And not even joking, at the end of the episode, Chris and Gus actually eat the alien because these bodily fluids are so delicious. Again, just an absolutely goofy, absurd episode, which really is like the hallmark of this series, the absurdity of it all. Giving SPEWEY his voice is Frank Welker. I don't think we need to necessarily say more than just Frank Welker. He's done so much voice acting work over the years, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention he voiced Megatron in Transformers. But he's done so much more than that. 2 more episodes to go. Episode 12 is titled 1977-2000. The sad story of Gus's dismissal from the police force 15 years ago inspires Chris to travel back through time and attempt to set things right. Oh, don't step on a butterfly. Don't step on a butterfly. We all know what happens if that happens. With that, we're going to go to the final episode, and they're going to end the series on a clip show. That's the name of the episode, but it's a clip show. The last year and a half flashes before Chris's eyes when he falls out of an airplane while trying to find the bathroom. It seems like an apropos way to end this series. But we do have a name actually as the stewardess. And the stewardess doesn't have a name. She's just stewardess. She's played by Teresa Ring. Come back here next week because we're going to talk about Teresa Ring on the next episode because she was the prize model on Strike It Rich in 1986 with Joe Garagiola. Hashtag no bandit, no bandit. And also, I think this might be the first time in recorded history we're going to say the name Teresa Ring on back-to-back episodes. I think that's never happened in the history of mankind. Back-to-back episodes, we're going to mention Teresa Ring, the model on Strike It Rich back in 1986. I'm sure if we really tried, we could find more stuff with her on it, but you know what? We're running short on time, and that's the entire series. I'm not going to get into ratings details just because the ratings were consistently bad. Very low, even for Fox standards. They got the second season, but as you saw, the second season was heavily retooled. The ratings didn't change. Based on what I saw, it was either the worst ranked show in television or the second worst ranked show in television. And again, that's all of television. That's not just Fox shows. That's out of 90 shows or 80 shows or whatnot. It was not good. I told you about the Shout Factory channel on YouTube. They've uploaded the first 2 episodes, including episode 2 without the laugh track, which is a different experience. And again, maybe a more authentic experience. But if you really want this, there are other episodes on YouTube, which may or may not be coming down, given Shout Factory is releasing these episodes on a slow basis, but they're still getting out there. But if you really want this, you can get it on DVD. It was released about 14 years ago, about 2012. But also, I do believe Shout Factory does have it on demand on some services. And beyond that, the Shout TV Fast channel, specifically on Plex, they occasionally show this. Not that often, but I've noticed over the last month or so that the overall direction of Shout TV has gone more towards sort of binge scheduling in terms of showing a TV show for 4 or 6 hours at a time. I've seen it on the schedule not that often, maybe once a week, twice a week, and also at usually absolutely absurd hours like midnight to 4 a.m. or something like that. So you can find it. Problem is, good luck finding it if you're at least going through the Shout TV channel. I think that's it for Get a Life Revisited. What can we say about Get a Life? Well, It took us 2 tries to revisit this. Thank heavens the second time worked. It was just absolutely goofy. Was it maybe too goofy for its own good? Yeah, could have been. The ratings may have said, hey, it's totally too goofy for us in 1990 and 1991, but those of us who were fond for Chris Elliott and his antics on Letterman and maybe even Cabin Boy, sure, we'll throw that in there. We revisited this series 30, 35 years later. It's actually very good, but unfortunately, because it was on Fox and also people really didn't watch it, Get a Life just yet again became a thing on TV. You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV Podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time. Well, I think I ripped off the Band-Aid earlier about what's coming up next time. We're going to talk about Teresa Ring on a second consecutive episode, and there's no chance in heck we're going to talk about her on 3 episodes in a row. Besides Teresa Ring, I think all we need to say is what we said about the last episode. Hashtag no bandit, no bandit. Come here on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about not just hashtag no bandit, no bandit. We're going to talk about Joe Garagiola. We're going to talk about Bob Hilton. We're going to talk about Klein and Friends. Oh, I got stuff to say about Klein and Friends. But you're just going to have to come here Tuesday to find out what Mike's going to rant about right here at It Was a Thing on TV. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Chico. Thank you, Greg. Stay safe. Stay warm. Hopefully it'll be warmer by the time you guys hear this. But just stay safe out there, guys.
Wow!
Our first guests are a good friend of ours, and this is very exciting. They're stars of the brand new program Skink the Bounty Hunter. Yes. Please welcome Chris Elliott and Gerard Mulligan. Come on out, boys. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Woo!
Yeah. I want to tell you, Chris, you look great.
Can I tell you why I look so great?
Why is that?
Because I am born again hard.
And how long has that been happening?
I don't know. Like for the last 5 minutes or so. That's about it. That's a world's record for me.
Okay, now listen.
Call my wife.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's great to see you guys. Tell us about the costumes.
Oh, costumes. Okay. Well, not off to a good start here. Dave, look, before you hit me with another one of your little knick-knack paddywhacks, let me just tell you right now.
What?
Okay, if you pull any of the kind of crap you pulled with Paris Hilton last week, okay? Thank you. Man, I will take you apart piece by piece.
Really?
I will smack that Liberace smirk right off your face. Okay? You're going to be wearing your ass for a hat.
Okay, wait a
How about that? See if you get your table at the Stork Room after that, huh?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I have been in prison.
You've been in prison,
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And not like that cushy prison where that dear, sweet, innocent workaholic did her time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the real deal.
Sure, yeah.
Down there in La Mexico.
Where? I'm sorry, where?
It's pronounced La Mexico. And I'm telling you, this is the kind of place you show up in your city skivvies, and they immediately give you a pair of pumps, and they send you down to the tailor and get you all measured up for the evening gown competition. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't, really.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess dude.
And nobody wins that one, bro.
Yeah,
No,
all right.
nobody wins
I
that
guess
one. You
not.
don't
Now
want to
listen,
win that
yeah.
one. You really don't.
You don't want to win that
No,
one.
of course you don't.
No,
Sure
you think you do, but
No,
you don't.
you don't.
You really don't.
Do you have any potty training tips? Now listen. So now this successful bounty hunter show on A&E, it's called Skink the Bounty Hunter. Is that right?
Yes,
And what exactly, tell us what a bounty hunter does. What do you guys do?
Can I tell you something? I'm always yammering out here. Can I let Jerry answer that one? I'm going to take a break.
Okay,
Jerry,
sure. Jerry, go ahead. Tell us.
Well, basically, we track down and intercept felons who've jumped bail.
What the hell are you using the $20 words for? This is Dave over here, for crying out loud. The guy's from Idaho.
Indiana,
all right, look,
actually.
Dave, let me try to make this as easy as possible
okay.
for you. What we do here is when a huckleberry starts smacking the old sea stones here,
Right.
then Jerry cranks the tank, and I jerk the monkey.
Well, I've heard that.
And then what we do is we basically cheese the guy till he's down there in that hot box, wearing the old flop suit.
Wow. Wow. And yeah, that was nice. And what exactly does that mean?
I really have no idea.
I have no idea. Now, I'm very excited because I'm told that you guys have brought a clip from the season premiere of Skink the Bounty Hunter. Is that right?
And should I set it up?
Yes, please do, if you don't mind.
In this vignette, Gerard and I, we use our stealth and our guile to track down a fugitive who's so far kind of outsmarted the long arm of the law.
Okay,
so
it's a couple of seconds from the new season of Skink the Bounty Hunter. Take
Where do
a
we look?
Right, just right there.
The bounty hunter.
Our perp is down there on the street level. So what we're going to use is this rappelling equipment. Yes, Jerry, I've got it. And I'm going to rappel over the side of the building and sneak up on the guy. He's not going to know what hit him. Somebody's about to get a size 12 skink hole, let me tell you that much. Oh, God! Watch your stun gun, will you?
I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
Jerry?
Yeah.
What exactly are you doing?
Making sure it's good and tight.
Ow. Okay. Let's go.
What the hell are you doing?
Oh, Jerry, give me up! The perp made me! Give me up! Ow, my penis!
That's just tremendous.
Thank you very much.
Just tremendous. And I just want to say, you look great head on, but the profile
I don't know, where can we get that?
really very, very flattering.
Nice.
What is next for you guys? What are you up to after this?
What are we doing?
We're going over to Rachel Ray's
Oh, Rachel
show.
Ray, yes.
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to teach her how to make our famous sesame skink balls.
Sesame skink balls.
Sesame skink balls.
Sesame skink balls. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Congratulations. Chris Elliott, Gerard Mulligan, Skink the Bounty Hunter. We'll be right back with Nicholas Sheridan.